started.
They don't have a quorum.
Roll call, Ms. Ella Arsenault, Stephanie Armbruster, Horacio. Absent is Mr. Judge, Mr. James, and Mr. Moore. We'll stand for prayer and invitation.
Do they have a quorum?
So, Father, we thank you for all of our friends here today. We pray for wisdom and guidance as we try our hardest to do what's right.
Yeah, I
We
wanted
ask
to
that
go
you would
back.
give us a spirit of love and kindness today.
Come here instead.
Let us move forward to better our community and the future of the library. In Jesus' name, amen.
I used to punish my children for saying that.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Armbruster.
Welcome to the Lafayette Public Library Board of Control meeting. As a board trustee, I would like to announce the following. This is a public meeting. To address the Board of Control on any item on the agenda, please complete and submit the public speaker form prior to the calling of the agenda item in order to have the opportunity to speak. Items for submission to the board should be handed to Ms. Nancy A. Bear, seated at the table to our right. Session where you can ask questions and demand answers of the board members or of employees. Though board members may ask clarifying questions to ensure your concerns are understood. All comments must pertain to library business in general and the action item being considered in particular. The 3-minute rule will be in effect. Members of the public are asked to remain quiet during the meeting to allow the board to conduct its business efficiently and to refrain from making comments while other members of the public are addressing the board from the podium. Meeting procedures are governed generally by Robert's Rules of Order, but the presiding officer may deviate from Robert's Rules of Order when necessary, convenient, or desirable for the efficient proceeding of the meeting. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. Thank you.
All right, first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the May 20th meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting from the May 20th regular board meeting.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any comments?
No.
No problem. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the motion carries. All right, any comments from the library board?
I have some
Yes, ma'am.
messages. That's okay. A few things. Number one, this getting ready for this board meeting was a little difficult for me based on the weekend's events and during the week. So if as a board we can remember when we're setting the annual calendar to maybe consider this month in particular the way it falls with Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there. We appreciate you. Also, I wanted to address some comments that have been made about out-of-parish card fees as it relates to our policy change regarding Bayou Land Consortium. So to clarify, the topic was brought to the board for the whole issue about changing out-of-parish card fees. It was brought to the board for consideration to determine the merit of the current or the policy at that time. The issue is that Lafayette Parish taxpayers were paying for our library while some out-of-parish patrons had free access to our library services. So again, that was brought to the board to evaluate, to consider that policy, and the board eventually did decide to make a change. The policy change was never intended to be a move to generate revenue. Any revenue that was generated was just a mere coincidence on the side, but that was not the reason that it was brought to the board. However, in response to those comments, the board was provided or presented with some information that people were questioning, so I'm gonna provide that information to the public as well. Looking at fiscal year 22-23 and fiscal year 23-24, which we're currently in as of May 21st, since the inception of the fee, the library has collected $20,800 for out-of-parish card fees. Something else I'd like to address, there's been a lot of online comments that may make the board question our authority over programming and personnel. So I wanted to provide some information to you because I know the ones seated here were not here for some of this information. In 2021, there was an issue that came up, and our president of the board at the time sought a legal opinion regarding programming because there was a question as far as what does the board have authority over regarding programming. So he sought a legal opinion. So I'm going to read to you that legal opinion that was submitted to us by Assistant City Attorney Mike Abear. The Lafayette, and the title was that the board has ultimate authority over programming. The Lafayette Parish Library Board of Control is the ultimate authority for establishing Lafayette Parish library programming, but the Board of Control may delegate portions of the authority to the library director. The scope of that delegation is solely within the authority of the Board of Control, and it can be established, modified, or withdrawn in whole or part as the Board of Control may see fit. So, and this is actually, maybe I can get Danny to forward it to the full board because this would be a historical record for you. You're welcome. And then there was also questions about personnel, and I have from the Lafayette Parish Code of Ordinances, let's see.
While you pull that up, I have a question for you, Ms. So that first program that you read, that came from where?
That was from the, it was our attorney at the time, Mike Abear. We got a legal opinion from him.
Okay.
Doug Palumbo was the president at the time, and because of the issue was raised, he sought a legal opinion to just make sure that we were doing what we needed to do and in compliance, and also what was our purview. So that was to just get that explanation. So regarding comments made about librarians and personnel, and again, from Lafayette Parish Code of Ordinances, the board shall have authority to establish rules and regulations for its own government and that of the library and or its branches not inconsistent with law, and to elect and employ assistant librarians and other employees, and to fix their salaries and compensation. So again,
I was gonna say, can you get that to us also?
Sure. So I mean, that is stated within our state, the state legislation, and there's a couple other places I saw too, but this is like from Lafayette Parish, so yes, we can send that to you as well. Myself or Dan. I'll send it to you. And that's it for my board comments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other board comments? All right, move on to the director's report and comments.
Okay, hello, okay. So the first weekend of June was our summer reading kickoff, and it was a big success. We had over 2,200 people in attendance. A lot of parents thanked the staff for the quantity and the variety of activities available. Larry and I met with the mayor president and the financial folks at LCG about the 2025 budget. They were just giving us their comments and asking their questions, but everything made them happy. There was something else about that. Oh, okay. And we are waiting on reassessment details. We have no information about that yet. The library has a new website, and it went live a couple of days ago. We haven't heard any terrible stories about it yet. That was done in-house. We contracted with someone to host the website, but the design of the website was done in-house by library staff. A lot of people had input. The bulk of the credit for the making it go live goes to Adam and IT. And y'all will be looking at discards tonight for books. The board approves the discards for the books, and so this will be the last time that the discards are just one lump group. They will be broken down by which ones are low use and which ones are being replaced or just discarded because they're damaged. There's no guarantee what's being replaced. So that'll be different going forward. That's why I wanted discards on this board so that we could clear out the ones that are still in the lumped group. We will be sending the discard request for the AV materials and magazines to LCG's property. They handle that. They've always handled that, and we do that maybe twice a year. Those go out to auction. I can send a list to the board of what's in it, but when LCG advertises, they don't advertise what's in it. They just tell you this many boxes of magazines, this many boxes of audiovisual material, and someone bids, and someone essentially got 5 pallets worth for about $100 last time. It would have gone into a landfill otherwise, so that was good. And we are currently working with civil service to rate applicants for the librarian 1 and 2 positions that were vacant. And that's it for the director's report. If y'all have any questions, because I'll be playing Larry in a minute.
I have a question about the book discards.
Yes.
And sometimes y'all do put books in the lobby of a library and allow patrons to take those free of charge?
We do that for the books because it was pointed out about 4 years ago that the process that we do for the AV materials and the books, we used to do it for both, and they all went through property and they all got auctioned off. Someone pointed out, a local attorney pointed out that there's a law that allows us to give the books away for free if the board approves it, and it was easier on the property department and everyone else, and this way the books got to be just given away for free as opposed to either purchased by the friends and then they sold them or put in a dumpster. But the AV material is not covered by that law, so the AV material is still subject. That's why the books go into the lobbies and the AV does not.
Yeah, if we have books that we can give to the schools, especially the elementary schools.
They would be welcome to come into the lobbies of the library and dig through whatever they want. There's no provision for us doing it. It's got to be open so that everyone has the same opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so pretend I'm Larry.
Okay.
All right, so we're doing financial first. So you have the financials in front of you. The revenue up to now is about $13.3 million, and we've spent about $7.3 million this year. To give you an idea how that compares, last year we had about $12.3 million, and at this point we had spent 6.8. A lot of the money that was not spent was salary. No, we had a lot of vacant salary that's going away, but still, that's good. And if you have detailed questions about the rest of the financial report in front of you, please email them to me, and I will get Larry to answer them, and I will send them out to all of you. So with regard to the facilities, the South Regional Library renovations were opened. The bids were opened on June 13th. One bid was received by Thompson Brothers Construction, and it was well under the estimated cost, unfortunately. Due to an insufficient corporate resolution required with the bid, the purchasing department is advising that the project will need to be rebid as the bid is not in compliance with the law. Larry is optimistic that either the same person will bid at the same price, or fearing competition, will bid low. The North Library renovations, we have received and reviewed the design development phase specifications and plans, excluding the civil engineering Comments have been sent to the architect and we're waiting for the civil engineering plans before moving forward. The northeast library land has been purchased and grass cutting services have begun. The main stairwell glass panel is expected this week. We'll see. South Regional had some additional roof leaks reported in the story time room, and Larry has filed a warranty claim. East Regional's old roof leaks, they were investigated, leaks over the vending area and the staff workroom with John's Manville Manufacturers representative after having the issues getting resolved with the roofer to find long-term solution. So pending the repair work, we're going to have someone look at it. We're looking for a long-term solution to this. Some of the work will be covered by warranty and guarantee, and some will be covered by the owner, which is us. East Regional also had a little bit of storm damage. Some of the fascia was blown off during the storm on May 13th. Larry's waiting on a recommendation from the roofer on how we should address the issue while maintaining any existing warranty. And we're going to try to get that covered by any FEMA claim filed by LCG. And also, same storm, West Regional Library had some window leaks. They were reported on the north storefront window system. Larry took a look at the water intrusion, confirmed it. There was a water test on June 13th on 2 of the areas, and we found a possible entry point at the joints of the windows, and we'll have the caulking done on additional windows to investigate and test. And that's the financial and the facilities report.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Danny.
I think we don't need Larry.
All right, so on the new business, library board discards, discussing any action may be taken.
Mr. President, in your, if y'all are going to do this, in your packet, there is the motion that we usually use. Okay.
Okay, yep.
I know that there have been some changes made to the information that you've been, that over the past few months, and then Danny, you've made some additional ones. So thank you for doing that, Mr. Galane. We appreciate that information. And we look forward to the future ones. We'll have even more information, correct? Thank you.
Then I'd like to make a motion for the library to discard 2,694 books having been out of use for over a year due to the books being superseded, obsolete, unused, or otherwise unnecessary.
Second that. Any comments?
No comment.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Next item is the director's search update.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the last time that was reported publicly at a board meeting, I think it happened after our last board meeting, I think we received one other application for the position. So there's a total of 7 applications we have received thus far. Let me give you and just for your information, 4 are in-state, 3 are out-of-state. I spoke to Alan last week and then again today to get an update because we were having trouble with advertising on LinkedIn. If you remember, the board had decided to not only advertise on I need a library job, but also on LinkedIn, thinking that it would reach a broader pool of applicants or target audience. And because of a lot of technical issues, Alan was working with the staff here, but unfortunately they still have not been able to rectify the problem. Alan thinks that, or is hopeful that within 7 days, it could be rectified. But he said if it can't be and he's gonna be working on that. So he said, so this would be to consider if we would extend the date because the close date was on May 31st. So the board needs to decide, since originally we wanted to advertise using LinkedIn, the board needs to make a decision. Do you want to extend this a little bit longer to get advertisement on LinkedIn? What Alan is saying is he's hopeful that it can be resolved within a 7-day period. If so, he would like to, or his suggestion would be to go ahead and post it for, like, run it for 2 weeks and then shut it down there. And then if it can't be resolved after the 7 days in order to be able to run the advertisement as planned and as hoped, then of course we would just proceed with that, going ahead and with the committee begin the ranking of the applications that we've received so far. So I guess the board needs to make a decision. Do you want to just close it as it is and stop and look at the 7 resumes and want the committee to go through the ranking process of all the applications and then bring our suggestions to you as a board? Or do you want the committee, Alan being on the committee, to have another 7-day period to try to resolve the technical issues with LinkedIn and then run the ad for about a 2-week period and then close it and then the committee would proceed?
You said that's about 7 applicants already?
There's 7 applications, yes.
Applications, and have we incurred costs with that so far?
With LinkedIn, no. With I Need a Library Job, technically no, but yes.
Okay.
I have to get reimbursed. We've spent $400 so far with I Need a Library Job, and the board had approved, Danny, Mr. Gillane had this for me, right. And March 15th, the board approved up to $600 to advertise on LinkedIn.
That's still part of that. It's not going to incur additional LinkedIn charges.
To my knowledge, we wouldn't have incurred anything yet because it hasn't happened.
Okay.
Right. Mr. Gillane concurs.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask this question to Mr. Gillane. Do you think it's necessary that we go that route? We got 7. Is it
I'm not going to answer that question because I'm one of the 7 applicants. So if you want to know if I think it's necessary for you to keep searching or talking to the other 6 applicants, my opinion personally would be biased. You should just stop.
See, man, that's why I like you, man. That's why I like you. Honest guy there. Okay, so.
So let me I'm looking at the calendar right now. So if the board would decide to run it for another 7 days, it means it would go up next week within, like, by the 24th, June 24th is the Monday. And then, 1, 2, then we could close it at the 12th or July 15th. And that would be the official close date.
I wouldn't want to prolong it any further. So I'd be okay with just scrapping LinkedIn and not moving forward.
I agree. So,
Then we have to update and renew the closing date, which was already May 31st.
May 31st, correct?
We already passed it.
Correct. That's why right.
So then we'd be extended to July 31st.
July 15th.
I think we just need to stick to our guns. Just leave that May 31st.
Okay.
So, Mr. Padron, do you want to make a motion?
Sure.
That's your motion? Or do we closed it, Ms. Bay, can I get your opinion? It was already closed on May 31st, so do we need to make a motion on that?
No, but just have it, so.
And
Unless
just
you'd be
proceed.
extending it, you can proceed without putting anything on the record.
Okay. So then, as the chair of the directors committee, I'm assuming you're supporting that too. Then I will go ahead and schedule the next committee meeting where we can begin looking at the applications and going through our next step.
And then we have a motion, Mr.
It's not necessary.
Not necessary? Okay, good.
would be all I have.
Thank you. All right. Library cards, we discussed supplying, take action about the library, the register of the minors. Getting a couple emails about that.
All right, Mr. President, I think, oh, you got it pulled up? Awesome, yeah. So make sure we had it available to the public. It was just something that we're gonna kind of enforce on our part due to the state legislation.
Mr. President, may I? So my understanding, the intention of this legislation that passed was to protect children, the innocence of children, being able to provide a mechanism to I'll say protect again children from sexually explicit material, but also allowing parents to exercise their parental rights in how they want their children's or minors' card to be either restricted or unrestricted. And so that's what this legislation does. My understanding is that already what has been implemented in-house is that if you come get a card today or tomorrow, that you would already have that option. The librarians would inform you that if you're a minor, your card would be restricted. If the parents wanted an unrestricted card, the parent would sign a parent or guardian. Mr. Galeen, did you have something to add to that?
Okay, so now if you come into the library, if you are a minor, your parent has to sign the library card application. So you choose at that point whether or not your children have access to adult materials and public computers or not, and we file that. And we also make a note in the record that when that card was issued, it was issued as a restricted card or an unrestricted card. The signature was from John Doe, who is stepfather of, and it was on this date. So when you come in, you make the decision when you come up for a library card, whether your child has a restricted card or open access, like an adult card.
That's already in place now. Okay.
Yeah, we did that months ago.
Okay.
That's for new cards, but not existing cards. So this is asking us to consider those existing cards if this new policy would apply to them.
Right. Okay.
We're talking about grandfathering treatments.
Yes, making the policy, I think it was pointed out that the law itself is not retroactive, so it would have to be, what is the intentions of this board?
Correct. Okay.
How would you word the motion if we were gonna do that?
It is complicated.
Motion to make all library cards retroactive? Ms. Page, I need your help. How would you motion that, please?
Yeah, ooh.
Can I pull up, let me pull up the language of what we currently have in the policy. And, was looking at the new library website, so it shouldn't take me too long. And I'm not sure, let's see.
Also, Mr. Gillane sent us some information while Ms. Bates looking that up. He suggested to the board that we could do like if the board would decide to do this for all, that we can have a PR campaign basically and have an expiration date, but that way give it some time, like a grace period, if you will, so that the word can get out.
St. Tammany Parish and East Baton Rouge Parish, when they made these announcements, St. Tammany Parish did it before the legislative session. East Baton Rouge Parish did it recently when they decided that they were going to apply this to all cards registered to minors. They essentially announced that in 6 weeks, within 6 weeks, you'll have to come in, otherwise your child's library card will expire. And so they set an expiration date of 6 weeks, and that is how they handled it.
Did that seem to work well for them?
I did not check.
So I double checked the policy. I don't think there's no updating that needs to happen there. Basically, this was just an application where we, in line with the legislation, said effective June 1st, anyone who comes in for a card is going to have to apply for it this way. So I think the motion would be when did we actually start doing it in the system? Was it June 1? I thought we went earlier. Okay. So any card that was issued before we implemented that, we'll get the specific date, that is not currently restricted would expire.
A minor card.
A minor card, yes.
I thought we had an opt-in on.
Well, that changed with the December policy.
We started this on May 28th.
May 28th. So any card issued to a minor that is not restricted prior to May 28th. Would that be correct, or would we want it restricted? I know.
What was that date? May what?
28th.
Okay, so the motion would be something like, I motion that any card issued to a minor before May 28th regarding the new card restriction policy.
Let me refine it for you. Any non-restricted card issued to a minor prior to May 28th, 2024 would expire at, whenever y'all wanted to make that effective.
If we did the 6 weeks, which was an option Mr. Glenn had mentioned, others had done, that would, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that would be like July 29th. So if you want to just make it July 31st, the end of the month, that's your call.
That, or we can find like the day before Lafayette Parish starts their school, and give like the entire summer.
Exactly right.
It gives them, oh, I see what you're saying. Give them time to come in, that may have to come in. Do we have the school date? Does anyone have the starting of school?
August 3rd, I think.
Mine starts August 12th.
But I think it's before that.
I know my daughter starts August 12th, but let me double check what the LPSS calendar is.
It's before the 12th.
So the motion could be as simple as any non-restricted card issued to a minor will expire July 31st?
School starts on August 7th in 2024.
May I ask for a consideration?
Yes, and then I'd like to ask one too.
Could you make it so that instead of expiring, any non-restricted card would become a restricted card?
That's what I
That
was
way the
thinking.
cards would still work,
Right.
and from a everything standpoint, it would be easier.
Explain that, that's what I was thinking too, Mr. Delane, but if it expires, what's the fallout as
The
opposed to?
expiration fallout is, so if a library card expires on June 30th and you go to check out a book, ordinarily you would get 3 weeks. Today's the 17th, you would have your book due on the 30th because you can't have something extend past the expiration date. So it would adversely affect anyone checking out any materials. Whereas if the only thing that happened was we changed the status of your card so that you couldn't access the computers and the adult materials, anything you had out would be fine. Anything that was going to renew would be fine. Yeah,
Yeah, so
That makes sense.
Okay.
keep it, you're just not giving them total access.
correct.
They would just revert or convert to restricted.
Okay. So, a motion that any non-restricted card issued to a minor will become a restricted card as of July 31st, 2024.
I think we want to
Would
put
that,
Move it to August 7th. What is that?
was that date still the same, or
Yes.
do we need to move it?
Which,
August,
Okay, I heard 3 dates, May 28th, July 31st, and then August.
August.
So May
7th.
28th, for clarification, Ms. Arsenal, May 28th was the day that, it would be for cards prior to May 28th, because that was the date of the new policy came into effect. So, just read the first part of your motion again.
Any non-restricted card issued to a minor
Prior to
prior to May 28th.
And then the other 2 dates we're considering would be to give families more time
Right.
to get to the library.
So it would read something like, any non-restricted card issued to a minor prior to May 28th will become a restricted card. As of, or will become a restricted card.
October 7th.
Not October,
I'm sorry, August 7th.
August 7th.
you want to make it, okay.
Did you have a question?
No, good. Okay, so we're gonna read that motion one more time and then,
Okay.
please, thank you.
Any non-restricted card issued to a minor prior to May 28th will become a restricted card as of August 7th, 2024.
I'll second.
Motion second, I'm sure we have some comments.
Okay, Virginia McWhorter.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay. John H. Davis.
I'm gonna pass as well.
I'm gonna pass. too.
Aaron Chance.
Aaron Chance, Lafayette Parish. The concern I have with limiting the access to information is this. Effectively, I find that when subject to inquiry, what is righteous, and I'm reluctant to use words as lofty as true, but I believe it is applicable in this case. Usually will have a better chance of triumphing over what is unrighteous or untrue. The exposure to external information usually shakes these sort of perceptions. Well, I believe that the political objective of the board in doing this is to restrict access to materials perceived as degenerate. The issue that the board fails to realize is that this goes both ways. Effectively, by restricting access to information, will also restrict the highly religious, the development of a highly religious counterculture, which is happening right now among some of the youth. I believe that ultimately, it may have not the opposite political effect from what you intend. It will not achieve what you're trying to do in terms of the consequences of exposing people to this kind of information. Ultimately, I ask you to reconsider this decision in light of it. You need to challenge the perspectives of the youth in order to lead them to these correct conclusions. Take for instance, let's go ahead and say there's this theoretical where you have a child under 17 who happens to be working on an unrestricted library card right now. Rather than being raised within the realm of what we consider to be acceptable religion, they're raised by some religion that would be universally outside of itself considered to be reprehensible, such as, say, the Church of Satan or some kind of Thelemite thing. Essentially, by forcing them down to a restricted card, you were impeding the line of inquiry that would lead them away from said cults and into more valuable real religions. I'm aware that this is something less articulate than most of my speeches have been in the past, because I don't consider this to be quite as lofty as most of what I talk about, but I do think this is still something worth considering. I know that I don't think we should try to beat around the bush. We all know there's a political objective here, and I'm not strictly opposed to acknowledging that and simply pushing for my own political objective at this rate. There's no real conclusion I can make at this point. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lynette Mejia.
Lynette Mejia, Lafayette Parish. I just want to start by saying that, and I've complained about this before at these meetings, that the agenda is not specific enough to allow the public to properly prepare for these items. It just says we'll discuss applying current legislation to all library cards registered to minors. This particular law was not included. We had no idea what laws you were talking about, making the cards come into compliance with. So it's extremely hard for the public to think about these issues and come prepared to these meetings when you all do not provide that information for us. In regards to this particular issue, I'll just start by saying that I don't think the idea of tiered card system, I think it's a reasonable compromise to the issue of allowing patrons under 18 to check out books or access digital services that their parents may not feel are appropriate. As a parent myself, I appreciate giving families control and a voice in that. However, where I have an issue with it is when someone else makes that decision for my family, either through removing books from the library or restricting my child's cards. Right now, parents have the right to come in and restrict their child's access to materials. That already exists. There is no reason to make this retroactive. Busy working parents have to take time to come in and change their child's card. Do they have time this week, next week? What about families who are out of town for the summer? It's also important to remember that this kind of policy would disproportionately affect kids from disadvantaged homes whose parents may not realistically have the transportation or the time to come in and fill out one of these cards. Finally, I'd like to just point out that the law 25225 that passed last year that talks about tiered card systems and these types of restrictions does not say that they need to be retroactive. The law does not say that. So you're not doing anything to comply with the law. You are restricting cards for people who did not ask for their cards to be restricted. So I'd like to consider that. Thank you.
Karen Chance.
Karen Chance, Lafayette Parish. Retroactively pulling the existing unrestricted library cards from all patrons age 17 and under deprives them from using the library computers. It deprives them from using electronic resources, which includes ebooks. It includes Learning Express, which is the most up-to-date ACT study guide and practice test. It deprives them from Udemy and LinkedIn, which are online platforms that provide for skill building and career guidance. It also deprives them from any adult books, which includes the classics. It deprives them from teen nonfiction. It deprives them from any books about puberty. Additionally, the LPSS cards available through the schools are limited to children's books and teen fiction, so they can't get any of those services through that route. They are just without any of those valuable resources. It places an unnecessary and undue burden on parents who have to come into the library and sign a form for their kid to be able to check out the same books that they could check out last month. It is particularly onerous because a 17-year-old can drive themselves to the library, and a 17-year-old can hold down a job. And yet we're going to require that their mom or their dad comes in to get a library card, or to reactivate a library card that they already have. At this point, any parent, people have had these cards for years and years and years. Parents have made a decision. If they didn't want their kid to have a library card, they would have taken the library card. They would have come into the library to complain, and they haven't. They have made their choice already. Additionally, it is going to place an enormous burden on staff. Do y'all have any idea of how many cards y'all are talking about here? Because we're not talking about from the year, we're talking about forever. Any kid age 17 and below, even if a 17-year-old kid got their card when they were 2 years old. How many people does that encompass? I would ask you to please reconsider this. Thank you.
See any comments?
Mr. Danny, question concerning one of the comments. What is the for a parent in this situation, the card is going to still be available to you, it's just going to have some restrictions on it. So nobody's card is getting cut off. They're just going to have restrictions.
Correct.
Okay, and what about the e-reads, and how does that fall?
The restrictions affect for the ebooks, they can't check out adult level ebooks. For the physical books, they can't check out adult level physical books. And for computers, they do not have access to the library's computers.
So they can get everything educational, ACT, all the things that are
They
available.
cannot, the electronic resources would be blocked inside of the library. The authentication is not done by the Lafayette Public Library, so if you access it outside of the library with your card, you can probably get in.
Okay.
But if you're inside the library, we won't let you use our computers to do it, so the people who don't have internet access at home would be adversely affected by that.
Okay.
But one trip to the library to sign the waiver would give them access.
Yes.
One trip.
So, my question is, are we giving, is August 7th enough time, and then, you know, how many cards are we talking about? Essentially, we talking about 20,000 cards over the course of time?
I don't know. We have approximately 110,000 active library cards for anybody that have been used to do anything in the library over the last 3 years. We cleaned up the database a couple of years ago, so there might be some more cards in the system that are affected. I couldn't tell you, but I do not know how many of those cards are held by people under 18.
Okay. guess my question is the restriction limited to material that we don't want a minor being introduced to only, or does it deprive them from things that they would need for educational purpose, applying for jobs?
I don't have the ability to make that judgment. So I don't know what material people want or don't want people to get access to. The library bases it on adult, young adult, and children's, so they just don't have access to adult materials.
Okay.
Some of those materials would be things that would be assigned in school. Some of it is not.
Okay.
When you say assigned in school, you're talking about research. So if a kid wanted to do research on trees and it's located in the adult section, they can't check out a book on that
Correct.
subject?
Correct.
Then we need to change something in the library system to allow the kids to be able to check out those types of material, but not be able to check out sexually explicit material. Maybe put a barcode or something on sexually explicit material.
Who makes
so
that?
that could be identified.
Okay, so
Who makes that
we have
decision?
about 230,000 items in this building, and they're divided by reading level or age level in that sense. So the adult nonfiction that's shelved on the third floor, I can't tell you the breakdown of what portion of that nearly 250,000 items we have is. I don't have the staff to go through, and when the legislature made their two-card, the tiered system, this is the best we can do. And with the computer access, if you came in to do research and you wanted to use the computers, if your card's restricted, you can't, because that's specifically in the legislation. So if you gave your child access to using the computers, then your child would have access to all the other library material as well.
And that would be the parents doing.
Yes, ma'am.
So if a parent wants their child to have that, then they should come in
They've already done.
to sign whatever form they need to sign to allow their child to have that. We're just trying to comply with the law.
No, you're not.
It's not.
And
That's not
again,
in the law.
I'm gonna say it, protect children from being exposed to sexually explicit material.
Like the Bible.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
so, I spoke to the author of the legislation, and she said it was intended to be retroactive. I understand it may not have said that in the words, but that was her intention. I do think that the point is to allow parents to exercise their parental authority, and they can allow their child to have an unrestricted card. They can come in that time. Mr. Gillane, I believe that you had already shared with the board maybe the documents or the waiver or whatever the parents have to sign, but for you to state on the record, is it clear that a parent understands that if they are signing this unrestricted card or their willingness for their child to have a minor to have an unrestricted card, do they understand what they have access to and then what they would not have access to?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. The ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, the announcements, all right, reminder, the next library board meeting will be Monday, July 15th. And reminder, the yearly ethics training, sexual harassment training will be completed by December 31st, 2024. At this time, we're going to take comments from the public.
Wait, Mr. President, I won't be here on July 15th.
Yay.
So I don't know if the board would change the date to the Monday before, or
What?
if y'all want to keep that meeting on the 15th, just know that I cannot be here.
We don't care.
Mr. President, July is also a meeting that y'all have treated as optional in the past.
That's correct. So you saying we need to go on vacation?
So, like,
I'm just trying to, figure out.
so it's optional is what you're saying, we don't have to meet in July?
Oh my God.
So, that actually might be a good thing, because the directors, the search committee will be meeting in July, so that would give us time to meet and do what we have to do, and then, be able to come back to the board and.
Okay.
So we need a motion to postpone.
I don't think so.
We did that last time.
Do we have one scheduled on the calendar right now? I'm sorry.
I think it is scheduled.
We always have it as optional in the schedule when we vote on it, so you just have to make the decision whether you wanted to do it or not. I think in past years, we've decided as soon as the week before, we just need enough time to put out the agenda notice, so you don't have to decide tonight.
Okay.
And you don't have to vote on it or nothing like that, right? Because it's optional.
No.
All right, we're not having a meeting.
Unless something comes up, will we wait a week before?
All right, okay, any comments from the public, not related to agenda? Okay, let's roll.
George Brewster III.
George Brewster, Lafayette Parish. I've sat through several meetings, listened to many of your meetings online from the archive, and I've heard many people come up and say that you aren't qualified, that you don't know what you're doing, and that you guys want to ruin the library. So I thought that it was important to point out from your minutes, the minutes prepared by your staff from your December 18, 2023 meeting that you approved, the then acting director, Sarah Monroe, noted in your minutes, it's memorialized in your minutes, that once everything was tallied, the library administration learned that 750,000 people walked through the doors. 73,000 people attended library programs, 11,000 people signed up for new library cards, and 1.8 million items were circulated. All in all, it was a good year for the library. That's a quote from your minutes. So, if in fact your intention was to destroy this library, I just want to let you know that you're very ineffective at the task.
Yay.
Lynette Mejia.
Lynette Mejia, Lafayette Parish, just a couple things I wanted to ask you all about. I'd like to address the fact that there was nothing on tonight's agenda regarding the Northeast Library. I know the director's report kind of mentions it, but considering the project's importance to the community, I feel like the public deserves to have it acknowledged and addressed formally on the agenda every month, because I think people deserve to know how their tax dollars are being spent on this project. They've waited for it a long time, and they deserve to be updated thoroughly each month, and the board, I think, should acknowledge the project's importance. I would also like to ask again that the board consider working within the projected budget surplus that you're expecting to reopen libraries on Sundays, perhaps even just some branches. Weekends are incredibly important times for young people in the summer to work on school assignments. And we also have to remember that the library serves as a community haven during the hot summer months for those who may not be able to afford air conditioning in their homes. So I would really like to see that addressed at a future board meeting. Thank you.
Margaret Oakers.
My name is Margaret Oakers. I'm from Lafayette Parish. I get that the board or the people in front of me don't hear what the public is saying. I get that. The fact of the matter is, what the board must know is library enthusiasts will not back down, cower, or be intimidated. To the people listening at home, what you are watching and listening to is actually a panoramic photograph of the dissolution of the Lafayette Parish Public Library System. I am not speaking for myself, and certainly not for my religious beliefs. But you guys, I don't even know what to say.
Aaron Chance.
I think that there's a broader agenda that's being pursued here, which is the inoculation of the population at large and minors in particular from any kind of obscene material. But the issue, and strictly speaking, I do believe that there is much value to a ban on, say, pornography and the like. Obviously, the pool of media resources has been heavily tainted by degenerate media sources. However, the way this is currently being gone about is not going to solve towards that end at all. By making no effort to sufficiently distinguish between that which merely displays any kind of obscene or sexual content from that which is truly degenerate or pornographic at its core, the library is essentially only giving ammunition to fuel support of pornography and degenerate media sources, not in any way aiding their removal from society. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Let's see any comments.
I have one comment to the, I would like to potentially talk about the summer months. I know we're getting ready to have a heat wave coming through Lafayette, and I would be very interested in discussing with the board about possibly opening up the library maybe on a Sunday throughout the summer while kids are out of school and giving one extra day, but we can discuss that another time. But I'm very interested in having that conversation. And Mr. Delane, what kind of cost would be incurred for that extra day? If it's just one branch open, maybe the main branch possibly. What are your thoughts towards that?
I would have to look, and we'd have to talk to the managers about scheduling. I know that Lafayette Consolidated Government does have some of its facilities that are open specifically for heat relief.
No, that's the Catholic Church.
They
That's
don't
not,
anymore?
no,
That's the Catholic
that's
Church.
Catholic Charities, not,
LCG had some rec centers open last year.
Oh,
but
I
they
didn't know
haven't
we were
talked
having
about
heat
doing,
though.
they haven't talked about doing it this year, yet.
I will ask.
I know the rec centers will be open again this year. It's kind of almost an unwritten thing. So that's one way, but I'm just thinking out loud.
But I will look into costs for opening one or more of the libraries on Sunday, and I will also reach out to LCG's rec centers to find out what Parks and Rec is doing.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. President, real quick, I know I don't want to go. I hate to bring that up with the library cards real quick. I know I think Danny mentioned he's going to have like somewhat of a campaign to let everybody know, right, by that August 7th date. So me, I have a 14-year-old. If I wanted to have that, keep that, can I preemptively go in there and do it? Okay, so that's going to be part of the public thing.
We're only going to be doing it for people who got their cards before the 28th. So if you come in tomorrow or today and change the card, it won't be effective on August 7th.
So what time does the library close?
8.
Today?
8.
Do you have time? We can be adjourned.
All right. Meeting's adjourned.
Yay, no